What do I do? No, maybe that needs to be like that. No. Race mode. No, that's not it. Maybe that needs to be like that. Nothing. How do you like your SUVs? Trim or full fat? Well, if it's the latter, you might be in the right vehicle. Welcome, fellow CarNut, to the Mercedes-AMG GLC 63S 4MATIC. Yeah, it's quite a mouthful. Let's get some of the boring number stuff out of the way first. It's $184,400 in New Zealand. That's a lot of dough. It's a lot of dough. The 63S means it's not a 6.3, okay? The 63 is now a 4-litre bi-turbo V8, and those turbos sit within the V of the cylinder banks, which is kind of a, yeah, quite a fruity arrangement, and they're delicately put there by our man, in this instance, by our man, Omar Osbeck, who is an AMG technician who has handcrafted this engine just for our oral and driving pleasure. And that 4-litre bi-turbo V8 puts out 375 kilowatts or 510 horsepower in the old money and 700 newton meters of torque. Just kiss the throttle, just like you're kissing your sister, you know, just a delicate little peck on its cheek and you're off. You know, there's no turbo lag, there's no delay, there's no nothing except progress. Urgent, authoritative, unending, relentless, inevitable progress. And that's really, really cool. So it's quite a beast, and the beauty of it is it still sounds like a big capacity V8. In fact, this vehicle has a thing called passion start, which I think is a nice sort of encapsulation of the crazy thinking that goes into these vehicles at AMG. You know, a lot of cars these days that have bimodal exhaust systems, you can hit the button and have it start in quiet start mode, so you don't annoy the neighbours every morning when you go to work. Well, this has the inverse of that. This has a thing called passion start, where if I pull back on the steering wheel paddle, hit the start button, it starts in a deliberately noisy mode. So you definitely do wake the neighbours up when you go to work. And I know it's kind of weird, but I really like the thinking behind that. The engine is hooked up to a 9-speed MCT multi-clutch transmission to separate it from your DCT, your dual clutch. Now the multi-clutch transmission features a wet start clutch pack thingy on first gear, which is supposed to allow the vehicle to launch more successfully, but also provide a kind of a creamy, smooth, you know, uptake like a traditional torque converter. I'm not sure it's completely successful, to be fair. I have found the transmission, just tootling around suburbs and around the city, to be a little bit aggressive. It's a little bit clunky, even in its most moderate sort of form. In pure automatic mode and comfort mode, it's still quite a bit of shift shock every now and again, which is Maybe just this vehicle. I mean, it's a press vehicle, so it's probably had a good hammering in its young life, but still, it's something that I wouldn't expect to find in a $185,000 vehicle, that lack of sophistication at low speed maneuvering and just gentle driving. But there's no denying that when you're up in your speeds and you're up in your requirements for sport shifting and you know, nice positive gear changes, it delivers really, really well. Now, like other AMGs, you've got variable drive modes in this vehicle. It starts in comfort, and then from this rotary controller down here on the right side of the steering wheel, you can dial up to Sport, Sport Plus, and Race mode. And down below comfort, you've got individual, where you can store the individual parameters that make up a lot of these drive modes and save them under your own settings. And you've also got a slippery mode for when you're dealing with snow and ice. You can, of course, adjust within those settings even further. You can go into a thing called AMG Dynamics, whereby you've got more customization available to you. There's a basic, an advanced, a pro, and a master setting, and that means you can further tweak the performance aspects of your GLC 63S. The sort of things you can adjust are like how much the E-diff is switched on or switched off, so how much limited slipping of the diff will be permissible. You've also got control under your AMG Dynamics of your engine mounts, because this thing has dynamic engine mounts. Yes, that's right, the engine mounts are actually adjustable. All sorts of, frankly, arsing about that you can do to this vehicle to make it behave exactly the way you want. Yeah. And if you're into that sort of nerdy stuff of tweaking every last element and trialing different things, that's great. I'm happy just to leave it in comfort mode. I've got the other buttons down here that are configurable, these little shortcut buttons on the left of the steering column. I've got those configured to change from automatic to manual transmission and exhaust open or exhaust closed, because those are the two shortcuts I use most. This 2025 kilogram GLC will accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.8 seconds. Yes, a sub 4-second car, and that's using its race start launch control thing, which, you know, I don't really like using launch controls. They just feel too harsh on the car. But I've got to say, the man from Mercedes, New Zealand, insisted that I use race start, because he says, oh, it loves it, it loves it, it actually cries out for it, it's gagging to be used. So who am I to argue? We're in race mode, traction control is off. I don't know if that makes any difference. I'm pulling it up. No, what do I do? Track mode. No. Maybe that needs to be like that. No, that's not it. Okay, right. After a lot of asking about, I think I know how to do this race start thing. Yeah, that's it. That was definitely race start mode. I get it now. I get it. Very impressive, by the way. Very impressive. I still don't like doing it. Well, I do and I don't. Hello, Mr. Policeman. Hello, oh, policewoman, sorry. Somehow, in the space of about 3.5 kilometers of standing start tests, I've chewed through 95 kilometers of fuel range. So I don't think I'm getting the 12.2 liters per 100k that Mercedes-Benz quote for the combined cycle. I think I'm getting more like 12.2 liters per k. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, come on, who wouldn't drive around in race mode if they could all day? Me, because it's too severe. It hangs onto gears. When we were doing 100 kilometers an hour there and it was in about third gear, it wouldn't change up. So, you know, this car has got so much potential. You just can't explore 8/10 of it in New Zealand. It's rated to 280 kilometers an hour. So VMAX, 280 kilometers an hour, 0 to 100, 3.8 seconds. Visually, you get a vehicle that looks a lot different from every other Merc on the road. Well, every other Merc that is not an AMG, because you've got that Panamericana grille, which they're now insisting we call an AMG style grille. But that's a unique grille. You've got the big wide air intakes underneath, you've got new headlights and tail light designs, you've got the trapezoidal tailpipe finishes with their little AMG script on, and you've got these massive 21-inch wheels too, which are carrying like a 265 front tyre and a 295 rear tyre. It's got a kind of visual presence, there's no doubt about it. Interior wise, well, it's a Mercedes-AMG, so it's beautiful. The 2020 refresh that we're in at the moment has taken advantage of some of the A-Class updates. So you've got this M-Bucks arrangement now in the center dashboard here with the Hey Mercedes voice recognition software. No, don't help me. I don't want her to help me. And you've got a 12.3-inch dash, digital dash in front of you as well, which is really, really lovely. These things work really nicely. Lots of nice blingy jewelry. That's sort of a faux wood grain thing, which is a nice change from piano black, so it's nowhere near as attractive for fingerprints. It doesn't leave any fingerprints behind because it's nice and matte. Dual sunroof opening here, the front one opens up. It's all as you'd expect. Really, really nicely spec'd. Great safety features, of course, lane keep assist, lane change warnings, lane change assist, blind spot alert, rear cross traffic alert, a million different camera views, adaptive cruise control, you know, everything that's probably been invented is in this vehicle. One of the little amusements of the GLC 63S, of course, is it's got these AMG performance gauges available to be displayed. And it tells me, for instance, that doing 100 kilometers an hour, as we are, along the flat here, we are using about, what, 25 kilowatts, and about 200, just on 200 newton meters. So what do we do with the other 500 newton meters and the other 350 odd kilowatts? I don't know. Yes, it does go around corners, but there's no denying it's a 2,000 kilogram vehicle sitting a reasonable amount off the ground. So it's not a sports car. For an SUV, yeah, it's good. It's quick. You can't complain about it for an SUV. I mean, I can feel where the front wheels are kind of pointing because the steering does load up quite nicely in corners, but I would never say it's extremely communicative. That's why this vehicle to me it's a bit of a challenge actually. Look, it's plenty fast enough, it's plenty loud enough, there's no denying that. But is it a really satisfying drive? Not really. Dynamically it's very accomplished, but as a driver sitting in amongst it, it just doesn't kind of encourage me to smile. I'm kind of probably more frowning than anything because I know that it's 2 tons and it can go very quickly, and if 2 tons goes very quickly in the wrong direction, suddenly it's a very big problem. So I'm a little bit anxious with it. More anxious, for instance, than driving a similarly powered M5, which is, you know, a fast car. The fact that in that car, for instance, you're a lot lower and you're much more connected to the driving experience gives you the confidence to really press on and not be so anxious about it. I've got it in Sport Plus mode, so I'm taking on these twisty roads with the dampers in their firmest setting. The gearbox is nice and lively, the exhaust is nice and loud, and the engine's nice and crisp. The gearbox is great. You know, it's doing all the things. But it's just kind of, I don't know what it is. You know, cars are weird, aren't they? They can have all the specs and all the numbers lined up, but when you drive them, something's missing. I think with this, I'm missing the ground. I'm just missing being connected more to the road, both from an altitude point of view, but also from a, I don't know, a general feedback point of view. Don't get me wrong, it's not like it's a super plush ride that is isolating me. It's just, and the noise is certainly connecting me, both from the exhaust and the road roar. I'm certainly immersed in the environment, but the steering's a little bit dead, you know, it's a little bit imprecise. Yeah, I'm sorry AMG, it's just not doing it for me. It's too much, but somehow too much just ain't enough. No doubt it can overtake fast, that's for sure. That's good. It's fast enough, it corners well, it brakes well. It's amazing technology, both from a safety point of view, but also from a chassis point of view. You know, everything is just amazing. Omar Osbeck has done a great job building our engine for us. Thank you very much, Omar, really appreciate it, feeling the love. Yet it's somehow still an SUV, perfectly comfortable for 5 people, a lot of luggage, it's got all-wheel drive, you know, it does the stuff that you want an SUV to do. But it's also extremely fast, sub 4 second to 100k, limited to 280 kilometers an hour. I mean, how fast do you need to drop the kids off at soccer? Who'd have thought? A 375 kilowatt, 700 newton meter, sub 4 second to 100k vehicle is just a bit there. But if you want a GLC to the nth degree, it's got to be this one, doesn't it? It's got to be the 63S, because even if you're just idling through a car park or shuffling along in stop-start traffic in the middle of town, if you can hear your exhaust, you've got that feel-good factor, and once the road starts to open up and the traffic starts to clear, just lean on that throttle, and the sheer might of propulsion that this thing offers will bring a smile to your face, and then you'll feel that your $184,000 has been money incredibly well spent.